There have been a lot of great moments in Auburn football over the last 25 years, but what are the top 10? Time to talk about it.
This is the Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by Golden's Cast Iron. C-Dub, I Joe, Be Will, by G. You are now listening to
Brought by friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Guys, you already know the deal. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 50% off your weights and code TWR for 65 hits and Kamado grills. The summer is here. You want to be outside grilling and chilling or just staying in shape. You can do that with our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Again, goldenscastiron.com/WR. Work out, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. Also want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. When I need to get some sleep, Rogue Shop Sleep CBD gummies are my go-to. Please visit them and get yours today. Also want to thank our friends at the Vibe Vault. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. Guys, if you want to get fresh for the weekend, visit the Vibe Vault. Not just barbers, lifestyle consultants, a barber experience like no other. Join the War Rapport. I saw that we had a member sign up at the beginning. Let's see if we can get some more signed up today. SEC Media Days is on the way. We're going to have a lot of member-only content coming out of the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta this year, covering SEC Media Days. Hugh Freeze goes on Tuesday. That's day 2. And we're going to be there to cover every second. You should be a member to make sure you don't miss all the exclusive content that we have for you guys. Guys, you can give the gift of the War Rapport by hitting that gifted membership button. We appreciate you guys for helping us grow our community. Love when our community helps us grow our community. Help someone else join the Green Name Gang by hitting that gifted membership button. We appreciate you guys for that. And as always, follow us on podcast, every single podcast platform. The War Rapport is there, whether it's Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. We got you covered. Lots of great audio only content. Ike just dropped some exclusive interviews with Stephen Pearl and Ira Bowman to preview what's coming this basketball season. Todd Pettiford is returning, but the rest of the squad is brand new. And they talked about it. So you want to hear that conversation, please go over the podcast and hear what those guys have to say. Appreciate him for doing that work. Also, just follow us in general. I got Tuesdays. I got a segment I do on Tuesdays called The Thing Is, a little Mike G rant for y'all on Tuesdays. Also on Saturdays, we drop a lot of exclusive audio only content. Appreciate you guys for going over there to subscribe. Guys, it is a Sunday, and it's a great Sunday here. Ike helped me out here with the layout. So on today's show, we're talking about the top 10 moments in Auburn football in the last 25 years. If you watched Wednesday's show, great conversation, ranking players, I believe you guys were in the last years.
The best players, the all quarter century team is what it was.
The all quarter century team. It was a great conversation. It just reminds you how many great not good players, great players have come through Auburn. Not every school can say that, but Auburn certainly is a place where great players are made. And great players make great moments. So today we're talking about some of those great moments here in Auburn history. Guys, do us a favor. If you're watching this video, in the comments, if you're watching now, hit us live. Or if you're watching on replay after, tell us your favorite moment in Auburn history in the last 25 years. I have a feeling there's going to be much debate about the 10 that we've chosen. There were a lot of great moments, and the ones we've chosen should not say anything about the ones that didn't make the list. Matter of fact, we have an honorable mention section just for that.
Yeah.
today. So how do we want to start this? Do we want to start with the honorable mentions?
Yeah, let's start with some of them that didn't make it, so people can tell us, oh, that's crazy. How did you not put that in there?
Yeah. Let's start with the honorable mentions here.
I don't have a graphic for that, so we just gonna have to talk about some of the ones that didn't make the list.
Well, I'll let you lead on this one. What was our first honorable mention here?
The first one, and one of my favorite moments, just because of the sheer, I don't even want to call it arrogance, but just like just to go in before a game and say, I'm gonna run for 200. Kenny Irons didn't make our list of top 10, but definitely deserves a mention before a game to say, I'm gonna run for 200 yards, and then go and do it. Like,
yeah,
that's crazy to me.
Camera. He looked right in the camera. If I remember correctly, they were on the road at LSU for that game. And he said, I'm going for 200. And he did it. I think it was 208 yards, was it? Did I get that right? 208 or 206?
I'm not sure. I'm about to look it up right now to make sure we got it.
Oh, right, my goodness. What a game. Kenny Irons was,
218, I think is what it shows right here.
Okay. Yeah. Like, so Kenny Irons was one of those running backs. We knew Kenny personally. He was one of those running backs that was probably underrated in Auburn history because you were just so accustomed to Auburn putting out good running backs. Kenny Irons, Brad Lester, these guys didn't break records at Auburn, but certainly they were a couple in a long line of backs that came after Ronnie and Cadillac that just kind of kept that tradition of great running backs going. For a really, really long time, Auburn was considered running back U. I think, what was it? Was it Ohio State this past draft that had the kid that transferred from Ole Miss? And
you said in the past draft?
Yeah, in this past NFL draft, they had Ohio State had two backs go pretty high in the draft.
Oh, okay, gotcha. You talking
about I always forget the kid. One of them was the kid that Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah. Right.
And there was another guy in that backfield with them. And whenever I see two backs from the same backfield get drafted, I'm reminded about how crazy it was that technically Ronnie was RB2.
Right.
And he got taken second overall in that draft, and Cadillac went 5. That just doesn't happen. I mean, two backs in the same backfield. When I remember distinctly, I worked in that athletic department. We all thought one of them was gone. It was a foregone conclusion that they were going to both leave. And somehow, with Al Borges coming in, Tuberville was able to convince both of these guys to return to Auburn football for the 2004 season. The year before, I don't know if you remember, that 2003, Ronnie was hurt because I believe Trey Smith started at running back that Iron Bowl. Ran for 120-something yards in that game on Alabama in Tuscaloosa. And then Ronnie came back for the Capital One Bowl versus Penn State. And he had that iconic juke and jump over touchdown. I mean, I think the final score of that game was 13-7 or something like that. Penn State had Larry Johnson. He had run for 2,000 yards that season. And all they said in practice that week was, Larry Johnson, 2,000 yards. I forgot what number he wore. I think it was maybe 20. But they had everybody walking around with Larry Johnson's number on in practice to remind people what they were up against. Penn State didn't score a lot of points in that game. Auburn locked them down defensively and did just enough offensively. I blamed the poor offensive performance on Bobby Petrino accepting the Louisville job legit right before that game. Right before that game. I was in his hotel room setting up his laptop while he was telling people about it. I've hated him ever since. But that's one of our honorable mentions. What's our next honorable mention?
I'm going to give you two from one of the running backs you just mentioned. One of them, one of the more iconic moments in Auburn history from the phrase it created, and the other one became a T-shirt that people wore in the game that he coached.
Okay.
So the game with Cadillac as the head coach versus Texas A&M, super huge moment. It doesn't make our top 10 list, but a very crucial moment in Auburn history. Cadillac Williams winning that game versus Texas A&M. They rushed the field, and Go Crazy Cadillac being the T-shirts that were spawned from his iconic moment versus Alabama. So those are two honorable mention moments that did not make the top 10, but definitely worthy of being talked about here.
Yeah, the recency maybe of the Texas A&M win with Cadillac as head coach doesn't give it the nostalgic feel that a lot of the plays and moments that we're about to talk about have. But when we look back on it, that will be one of the better moments in Auburn football history. The amount of his teammates, some of which are included in some of these moments that we're going to talk about, that came back to Auburn for that game. Cole Kublik interviewing him outside the tunnel right before he ran out. That moment in Auburn history, I think that was their third win of the season or something like that. It was insane. The fourth win of the season.
No, it was the third. Hold on, wait a minute. Yeah, it was the fourth because then they
won a lot of
football
games.
Yeah, they won the fifth game the next week, and then everybody's like thinking, got a chance to win 6, and then they didn't.
Yeah, it didn't happen. But it was a great moment. And then Go Crazy Cadillac, a great tribute to Rod Bramblett and the legacy that he left. I think that call, he had so many good calls over the years. Obviously, we'll talk about some of those moments, but Rod Bramblett got a chance to see a lot of what we're about to talk about here. So those are great moments. Is that it for our honorable mentions, guys?
One more. It was the 2013 SEC championship game. 500 plus yards of offense. Trey Mason went absolutely crazy in that game. But the 2013 SEC championship game does not make our list of top 10, which is, again, crazy in and of itself. We're talking about a championship performance where the offense put up wild numbers, but did not make this list of top 10.
Yeah, that game, Missouri scored a lot of points in that game.
For sure did.
Yeah, they scored a lot of points in that game.
Yeah.
There was an air of inevitability to that 2013 offense where you felt like they just couldn't be stopped from scoring.
And they couldn't. Eventually, they were going to get the score, as evidenced by the national championship game. They didn't have the one last score that they needed with enough time left. But when they needed a score to get back in the lead in that game, Trey Mason delivered in it.
They had it. Yeah. I mean, technically, Auburn had the ball last, but
they just didn't have enough time.
Yeah. It was just that it all fell apart in that third quarter.
Yeah.
They took the foot off the gas. One score in that third quarter puts the game out of reach. Caesar and I were there in Pasadena for that game. I don't remember being as depressed as I was after that game, after any Auburn football game. I never went back to watch the highlights ever.
I've never gone back to watch anything from that game.
Look, Caesar is with us. Let's bring Caesar in before we get into our top 10 here. Caesar, good to see you, man, here on a Sunday.
What's going on, y'all?
Look, we're talking about the top 10 moments in Auburn football in the last 25 years. You guys had a great discussion on Wednesday about the all quarter century team, which was great. I mean, in the comments, it was just indicative of how many great football players have come through Auburn University. Now we're talking about the moments in the games that they created. So let's start at number 10 here. Ike, you got your hands on the wheel. Coming in at number 10, top 10 moments.
Let's go with number 10 on the list here and get Caesar back in here. My bad.
Great picture of the DB laying on the ground here. Bo Nix to Seth Williams. This was the beginning of what we thought was going to be just a great few years at Auburn. That first game, when you play a team like Oregon, game 1, you just take the dub. You don't care how you get it. You just take the dub. I wasn't felt with an overwhelming sense of confidence throughout the game, but boy, when Seth Williams made this catch from Bo Nix, Who was it that was on the? Was it Trev Alberts on the call? I forgot who was on the call in this game.
Oh, man,
I believe it was on ABC.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
this is probably one of the more recent great memories that we have of Auburn football, because there haven't been a lot over these last few losing seasons. We talked about one in our honorable mentions with Auburn beating Texas A&M with Cadillac as interim. But guys, talk to me about Nick.
Lawrence says it was Reese Davis was on the call.
Reese Davis, yeah, it was a great call by Reese. This game was fun. This was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it definitely was. It was a moment because it was freshman Bo Nix. It was, that single moment, I think, contributed the absolute most to the subsequent hype train that existed behind Bo Nix going forward. Like, you couldn't convince anybody that the prediction that Bo Nix was going to win a Heisman before he left Auburn and lead us to a national championship.
They're saying it was Fowler. They're saying it was Chris Fowler.
Oh, Chris Fowler, excuse me.
Okay.
But you couldn't convince people that was not going to come to fruition after that game, right? Because it was just it was a really good, like, I still contend that was not the play call. If you go and you watch the reaction from Gus Malzahn after the play, I don't think that's what the play call was. I think Bo Nix called his own number and he was like, bro, we're going to go out here and score. Seth, go get open. I'm going to get it to you.
Yeah, we're just going to play football. Yeah, I'm going to throw it up. You go catch it.
That's what I think happened. Now, nobody has ever confirmed that, but that talking about games I have gone back and watched. I did go back and watch that, and I've watched that play, and I've watched Gus Malzahn's reaction to that play. I feel like Bo Nix was like, man, F it, Seth down there somewhere. Like, and just called his own number on that one, bro.
Yeah. I think with this game, man, is that you had a lot of questions. You knew Bo Nix had a lot of potential, but you already know the difficulties of throwing a true freshman out there, right, game one against at the time, a Power 5 opponent, neutral site, and expecting him to deliver like that. That was a big moment. And what it started was a lot of hype and excitement around what Bo could have and probably should have been at Auburn.
Right.
Yeah.
I think everything after that became kind of, I won't say disappointing, but it was just like one of those things where it's like, yo, if this is where it started, again, you have to think the mindset of Auburn fans. If this is where he's starting,
right? Oh
my God, where is he going to end up? And it just, I don't know that it ever reached that height again. There were some good moments in the next 2.5 years with Bo Nix. I don't know that it ever reached the height of this play, though.
Yeah.
The handling of Bo is why I was screaming, cut the check. Because as far as I was concerned, I had seen everything I needed to see in terms of Gus Malzahn developing a QB. I hate to rag on the guy, but to me, I thought this was like his last hope. Right? You have an incredibly talented athletic QB, and he's starting the season. He's starting his collegiate career like this. Oh my gosh! Like the sky. I was one of those fans, Ike. I was one of those Auburn fans. It's like the sky's the limit for what this kid could do at Auburn.
Yeah.
This game birthed the infamous quote from Gus Malzahn about this kid's gonna win championships before he leaves here. Spoiler alert, he did not win championships. Auburn did not win. I should say Auburn did not win championships, and in large part thanks to Gus. However, they saw the change the next season, but this team won 9 games and beat Alabama.
Yeah,
this team won 9 games and beat Alabama, and this was probably the last season Auburn fans felt great about Auburn football. Because like Caesar said, if this is where it's starting, let them get it together. And then COVID happened. And like I said, it just didn't look great. Let's get to number 9 on the list. Number 9, coming in at number 9, Auburn defeats Tennessee in 2004. Great picture of Ben Obumanu there. The 2004 undefeated Tigers. It's hard to leave SEC championships off the list, guys. We were in school for this one.
This one right here was momentous because, like, you just think about the adversity that team had to overcome the year before to get to this place, and this was the culmination of that. The unfortunate thing is they don't get the opportunity to prove that they belong to be national champions, but this championship game seemed very unlikely if you fast forward 12 months before it.
Yeah. Hard to be a good team twice. That was a good Tennessee team. I believe their quarterback was Eric Ainge that year.
Yes.
And boy, did he have a mouth on him. Bro was constantly talking. Junior Rose Green came into our video room and very confidently told us that his mouth was writing checks that his arm couldn't cash. He then went out and picked him off 4 times in that regular season matchup. They met again in the championship game, and Auburn won that. They went on to go undefeated, and certainly, that was one of the better times, I think, in Auburn football history. Let's get to number 8 here. Number 8 on our list, top 10 all time. Tell me you remember this one, guys. Damon Duval beats Steve Spurrier's #1 Florida in Auburn. A 44-yard kick that hooked in to win the game 23-20. Prior to the kick 6, I think, this is one of the few times that Auburn has torn down the goalposts for a home game. It didn't happen for a really, really long time after this one, but we're reaching back here. Anybody in the chat old enough to remember Damon Duval? He was kind of a do-everything kicker. He was kickoff guy, place kicker, and punter.
Right.
He was kind of an amazing kicker.
Yeah, he did some of everything. And yeah, this was a really huge moment for Auburn. Again, the magnitude and the unlikelihood of this is really what makes this such a huge thing. Because I don't think anybody gave Auburn a shot to win that game. #1 Florida coming into town. And it's one of those games that it awakened the lore of Jordan-Hare Stadium, right? Like, it was one of those things where it's like, man, you just don't want to go there and play, bro. Like, this is one of those games that makes the lore of Jordan-Hare big because of stuff like this, where a #1 team comes to town and walks out in the most unlikely fashion with a loss.
Yeah.
And then to me too, it you knew that any Tommy Tuberville coach team was going to be a tough out for even some of your better teams in the SEC. Because again, this is a Steve Spurrier Florida Gators team who, again, as Ike mentioned, was a heavy favorite. But coming into Jordan-Hare, it was just a tough out for even if Auburn was not doing all that well, playing them in a big game, prime. I think this was a primetime game, I think.
Yeah.
That's a tough proposition for most teams. And again, the legend of Damon Duval, one of Auburn's best kickers. And that's saying a lot because we've had a lot of amazing kickers come through Auburn. Duval stands out amongst the greatest of them, and this was an amazing moment.
Damon Duval comes in at number 8, beating Steve Spurrier's #1 Florida Gators. I don't know if you guys remember, but Rex Grossman was their quarterback that year.
I do.
He threw for almost 4,000 yards that season, and I believe he finished runner-up for the Heisman that season. So this was a big deal. I don't remember if this was the year that they had Jabbar Gaffney at wide receiver.
I don't remember that.
I think Jabbar Gaffney was on that Florida team as well, too. God, they were loaded with so much talent. Let's jump to number 7 here. A great moment there at number 8. In the number 7 spot, we have
another kick versus Florida.
So many good kickers.
This one versus Florida probably, I mean, it's ranked higher, so of course it's one of my favorite ones because of this picture right here.
Yes,
this picture right here made it. Like John Vaughn running off doing the Gator Chomp in the swamp after he makes this kick is one of those goosebump moments as an Auburn fan when you go back and you think about like the immensity of that, because they were a #2. I believe Florida was #2 at the time when Auburn went and beat them. This was in 2006. And so this is a huge moment in Auburn history.
This
in
was
Auburn
actually,
history, period.
This is actually coming off of the crazy. Auburn's had some crazy finishes with Florida, especially in the early 2000s, because the year before this, they were in Jordan-Hare again with Crease Leak, if I'm not mistaken. And that was a wild finish to that game. So Auburn's on the road. Auburn limps into the swamp in this game, if you guys recall, because they were struggling a bit. Wasn't this the game that Auburn replaced like their O-line? Yeah,
I was gonna go there. This was the iconic, like the offensive line just wasn't getting it done. And I want to say they started like 5 freshmen. They threw like 5 freshmen out there and just said, screw it. It can't be going worse than it's going right now. Let's just see if these guys can do better. And they went into the swamp and pulled out.
Did I say John Vaughn? I meant West Byram. My bad.
West Byram. Yeah. West Byram. That was a 43-yard game-winning field goal with no time left to win 20-17 in Gainesville. It earned him Special Teams Player of the Week, obviously, kicking the game winner on the road in the swamp, which is a very hard place to play. Guys, with all this talk of conference expansion, I just think that Auburn is playing Texas A&M way too much. I would like to see Florida back on the schedule. Give us Auburn, Florida back, and you can have Texas A&M. I don't care for that game over Auburn, Florida every year. So, chat, tell us what you think. Coming in at number 7, we're going to get 2 more in before we get to the break and talk about the top ones on our list. Coming in at number 6 on our list of top 10, the comeback. This is where people are going to start to argue with us here.
I think people are going to argue about some of the lower ones on the list being left off. But yeah, this one is we're going to start a debate here of what deserves to be top 5.
You can see my monitor behind me. We got the same picture. Cam Newton says, just be quiet. Auburn was down 24-0 in this game, and Cam Newton iconically led the biggest comeback in Auburn football history en route to a national title, an undefeated season, a national title, a Heisman, a Maxwell Award, a Walter Camp Award, every award that was, he won it that year, and rightfully so. This was, I knew Cam was good. But I don't know if you guys remember that whole season. Lou Holtz was on ESPN claiming every week was the week some team was going to shut Cam up. When they played LSU, he said he's never going to get hit like he's going to be hit in this game, blah, 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 Lou. And then Cam went out and just did superhuman things game after game. I remember where I was at when the comeback happened. I was living on the Jersey Shore. Guys, to talk to me about this. This was, I don't know if the range of emotions I experienced in the hours that this game was on was ever greater in my life.
So this game here had all the makings of a WWE pay-per-view match, because it was so much storyline going into this game. Like, I think the whole issue with Cam broke maybe the week or two before. And there were issues of whether or not Cam and his father had done things illegally or whatnot, allegedly, right? So going into that place down in Tuscaloosa, they're playing music like Take the Money and Run, Son of a Preacher Man.
Yeah,
just disrespectful. Just disrespectful. Just disrespectful type stuff, right? So an incredibly raucous crowd down in Tuscaloosa, and it looked like the moment was too big at one point because Bama could do nothing wrong. And it seems like all the wrong was done on Auburn's part. Like Auburn couldn't move the ball, couldn't stop Bama. I mean, the house was rocking. And Auburn scored the Emory Blake touchdown, the pass to Emory Blake to end the first half. And you started to wonder, okay, Auburn comes out in the second
strip for Antoine Carter, though.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, like, the punch out.
That's really where like the momentum swung, because because I mean, my boy is going to score.
Yeah. Like they're getting points on that drive.
Yeah,
at minimum, if he didn't punch that ball out.
And I think that would have been the nail in the coffin. And when that happened, the momentum, like you was like, okay, the inevitability felt like it was beginning to happen at that moment. You're like, okay, we got a chance.
That first drive in the second half.
Yeah.
To Terrell Zachary for I'm like, okay, all right, we got a ball game now. So
we could have picked so many moments from this game,
from that game alone, like moments in that particular game probably could have, like if we had done like a top 25 like we did last time, there have probably been 4 moments from this game alone.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it was, I mean, you got the Lutzenkirchen touchdown. That actually, like, you have the strip sack fumble recovery in that game.
Yeah.
You got the punch out that we just talked about. You've got Cam going over the top to get the first down, to salt the game away. You've got the sack that forces the quarterback out in that game. Like, there's so many, like,
I forgot
about that. The Lutzenkirchen, whatever that was in the end zone after he scored, but it encapsulated everyone's emotion at that time.
Like people started like making that into like
the
a dance. Yeah,
they called it the
dance.
What are we doing? This is just him being happy. He wasn't like trying to do an actual, but like it became a dance craze. Like it was so crazy, bro. Like, but yeah, there's so many moments from this game that you just kind of have to put the whole game up there. Like,
to Sharvin Bell. So Sharvin Bell was the one who suplexed him, and he was out.
He came off on the corner blitz. He came off on the corner blitz, and he did not see him coming.
Yes, and it was a great call, I think, by Vern, because he saw it. He saw it and called it out. Oh my goodness, this game could have gone wrong for Auburn in so many ways. And I'll tell you this, right? Like, kind of tying this before we get to the break here, we're going to break and we're going to come back with the top 5. But when we talk about the synergy and the chemistry that a wide receiver and a QB have, I just want everybody to remember that 4th down that they converted to keep the drive going, where the whole world thought it was going to be a quick kick by Cam. They were the announcers were questioning it. They were like, I don't know, man, your defense is playing so well. And he just dropped back and very casually delivered like a 5-yard out to Darvin Adams. He caught it with his hands, tiptoed the sidelines, and they kept the party going. There were so many moments in that game that like Cam delivered. He just came through. Antoine Carter, I believe, was the D lineman that ran down Mark Ingram and punched the ball out. Right. Mm-hmm. That's the definition of never give up. He had 0 chance of catching him in the open field, but he stumbled just a little bit, and because he never gave up on the play, he was there to poke it out the back of the end zone essentially, and bam.
What's crazy, like, I don't even know how far that ball traveled.
Like 30 yards and
like it tightrope the sideline forever to get out of the back of the end zone for that. Because any other point in time, it's just ball out of bounds in field goal range, right?
Yeah.
But it like skirted up, like it was so crazy, bro. Like that game has so many crazy moments in it. So many.
And to think, it's only number 6 on our list. What are the top 5? You don't want to miss this, guys. This is the Weekend Rapport. You guys know the deal. If you're watching this video, hit share on social media. Add us at the War Rapport. Use hashtag Get Your Weight Up so people know that you are watching us. Like and subscribe on the channel and on this video. Help us out. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the War Rapport. Each one of those, TW Report at TikTok. We're going to get to the break, pay some bills, and we'll be right back with our top 5 moments in Auburn football in the last 25 years.
This edition of the War Rapport is brought to you by our generous sponsors. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
The Rage Room. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Set up a session today at one of the 2 great locations in Opelika or Birmingham by visiting opelikaRageRoom.com or BirminghamRageRoom.com.
As always, we want to thank our sponsors. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. The summer is here. You want to be outside with Golden's Cast Iron or just getting in shape with some Golden's Cast Iron weights. Work out, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. I want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, and sleep. Again, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. I love the CBD sleep gummies, guys. You can't get sleep. This puts you out. We love the Rogue Shop. Appreciate them for sponsoring the segment. Our friends at the Vibe Vault, you can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. Not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. Go get fresh for the weekend with the Vibe Vault. Guys, join as a member. If you have been missing these film reviews, you're missing out. I'm breaking down the current team and what they've done, all their exploits there on film. We got all 22 to look at as well, too. So this is an in-depth look at Auburn football and its players like you've never had anywhere. $5.99 a month will get you there. You can give the gift to the War Rapport by hitting that gifted membership button. We appreciate our community for helping us grow our community. Help someone else become a part of the Green Name Gang by hitting that gifted membership button. Let's see if we can give a few given away before the end of this show. Follow us on podcasts, the Auburn Express Uptempo, College Loop Just a Sec, and the War Rapport Gaming channel, bringing you guys lots of great audio-only content. You don't want to miss what we got there. We just dropped two exclusive interviews with Stephen Pearl and Ira Bowman of Auburn basketball. It's audio only exclusive. Please go subscribe and listen over there. Lots of anticipation around Auburn basketball this season. And you want to hear what this year's team is going to be like. Only Todd Pettiford, the man himself, returns. The rest will be new. They talk about it all in this exclusive interview. Please go give us a listen over there.
All right, let's hit these comments, man, before we get over into this final 5 here. Lawrence Robinson said, had Vaughn not missed a million kicks, we would have won that game. Yeah. Speaking of the 200 that our guy put up, Kenny Irons put up in that LSU.
Five missed field goals.
Yeah.
I think 5 missed field goals in that game. Yeah. And that game went to overtime, too.
It was rough.
Oh.
He also said we didn't give Ontario McCaleb any love in the Wednesday night show. Ontario McCaleb, shout out to him. Dynamic.
He was good.
Listen, the speed sweep merchant, kick returner extraordinaire, Ontario McCaleb definitely deserves some love for what he did in that offense. Listen, that's the thing I've always said about the Gus Malzahn offense is that it literally needs you have to have 3 dynamic elements for that offense to work. The fourth one is kind of a given, which is the offensive line, but you have to have a dynamic speed sweep person. That's like of the list. It's number 3 on the list of things you have to have for that offense to work. Somebody who is a threat that if you give it to them on this sweep and you let them turn the corner, they can go take it for however many yards are left on the field, right? Whether it's 80, 90, doesn't matter. That guy has the speed. If you let him get the corner, they can go do that. Number 2, you have to have a really great, tough between the tackles running back that can fall forward for 3 or 4 yards. It's a given. You hand this guy the ball and they block well enough up front, they're definitely getting 4 to 5 yards because once they hit the second level, they're going to at least fall forward. And if they break that tackle, they've got home run ability. You got to have that. And number 1, you've got to have a dynamic dual threat quarterback. If you have all 3, it's darn near impossible to stop that offense. If you have all 3, 2 of the 3, you're going to be pretty good. And if you only have 1 of the 3, you end up having an abysmal season, right? But if you got all 3, that offense becomes very tough to stop, especially back when you actually could do the tempo the way that Gus was doing it.
Yeah. Ontario, the legend of Ontario McCaleb, they told the story that entire season about how he decided he was going to catch a squirrel or something on campus. Yeah. He just caught a squirrel. You got to be fast to catch a squirrel with your bare hands.
Yeah. No, them Auburn Squirrels was a little different though, because they didn't care about people. They was just like, yo, I was here first.
Yeah. Very, very, very true. Very true. Let's
I'll
see.
add this too. Ike. I know you mentioned the 3, but listen, I remember what Jay Prosh meant for that offense.
Oh, for
too, in
sure.
2013.
Dynamic H-back kind of guy.
I remember what he meant for that. Yeah,
let me not overlook that. That's for sure.
Yeah, he did some you talk about dirty work. He did some dirty work.
Go out and get the block.
Yeah, he's a legend. He's a legend for what he meant for that ground game. It's the reason that ground game was unstoppable.
If I remember correctly.
So
he went to the Texans.
Yeah,
he got drafted by the Texans. Yeah. So, Prosh was, when you get your H-back is getting drafted. Right?
Yeah, he was a dude. He was a man.
Couple more comments here before we get back over into our top 5. TK says, seriously, though, when the final whistle blew on the 2004 season, undefeated, best team ever, top to bottom, in my opinion. This was another thing that was debated pretty heavily Wednesday about who was the best. And we've had this conversation on this show before, 2010, 2004, 2013, like which team ends up being the best, and if they had to go head to head, who would win? We've debated that topic a couple of times on this show before.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against a team with 4 first-round draft picks, right? Like,
right.
Jason Campbell, I think, was 25th in that draft. Carlos Rogers went 9. Ronnie went 2. Cadillac went 5. And they weren't even the only ones that got drafted.
Right.
So I don't know. Like I said, 2004, it's just a shame we didn't get a chance to see them prove it. And all because people couldn't let go of their bias from what happened in the Auburn versus USC game just the year before, when USC came to Auburn and goose-egged them on the plains. That was my living nightmare of Auburn football. Actually, it was probably the worst game I've watched Auburn play.
Yeah.
D-Lev, Kenny Irons getting off the bus in Baton Rouge, predicting he's going for 200 going to bus 200 rushing on LSU is legendary for sure. A legendary moment in Auburn history. And then last one before we get back into this, Nick Marshall throwing for 456 against Bama in Tuscaloosa in 2014, still holds a single game record at Auburn.
Yeah.
A huge performance, and worth an honorable mention here. Auburn doesn't win that game, but a really huge performance for Nick Marshall, and kind of showed some of the maturity that he had developed as a quarterback. That I don't think he gets enough credit for how much he progressed as a quarterback. We give a lot of a grief to the inability to develop quarterbacks during the Gus Malzahn tenure, but the year-over-year development of Nick Marshall to go from pretty much a runner that played quarterback to a guy who was a little bit of a threat with his arm in that second season, though on a worse team, definitely should be applauded.
Pray for Nick Marshall. Pray for him.
Will do.
It's Sunday, but pray for him.
All right, that's all the comments I got for right now. We got one more. Hold on, actually, I'm gonna just go ahead and get this because we're not gonna ever come back to this for any other reason. I'm assuming you started this one yourself, Caesar.
No, I started.
Oh, okay. All right. So Diego Castro says, "Hope all opponents this year look at our D like Caesar."
Diego,
my German Shepherd yesterday at Home Depot. That thought was holy sh.
Yeah, when you turn a corner and you just see a German Shepherd in the store, that's not one of the first things you expect to see. So, shouts out to you, Diego, for finding that beast of an animal you have there.
There we go. There we go. Let's get back into our top 5 moments. I know you guys are on pins and needles about who's next. Who could be 5 dead smack in the middle of our countdown? Well, at the number 5 spot, we've got the War Rapport podcast.
Yeah.
Actually, we've got Cam's Heisman moment.
Now, I debated whether or not this should have been above. I thought this should have been number 5, and the comeback should have been number 5, and this should have been number 6. But here we go. Cam's Heisman moment versus LSU.
This was Heisman candidate on Heisman candidate crime right here in this play. And I think it was the moment that everybody finally realized that Cam Newton was real, but not real at the same time.
For sure.
Every doubter he had just about went away after he stiff-armed Patrick Peterson on the way to a touchdown. And this one, it was, I mean, you know, the dive for the end zone, dragging Patrick Peterson a couple of yards. This play had everything. He was running, he hands on the ground. It was a great call by the commentators. He was superhuman, and I think he showed it on this play.
The best part of this play wasn't even all that you saw on the field. It's when he got up after scoring, it was like, yeah, I'm that dude. I am him. I have arrived.
We could probably just do a top 10 Cam Newton moments from that year. Like, yeah, he had so many like insane moments. We could probably do top 10 Cam Newton moments from his Heisman season. And it would be maybe we'll do that another day. Just since we're in nostalgia mode. I don't know if we want to occupy a lot of the airtime for that, but Cam had a lot of moments that were just like, bro, what?
Yeah, what
are you for real?
Yeah, what is
he? Are you a human? Like, let's be clear here. You're not supposed to be able to do that. Not at that size, not at that height, bro. Like, you're not supposed to be 6'6", 250 plus pounds moving like that. Like, it's just that's not a real thing, bro.
And to your point, you made mention of like Lou Holtz and what he said about Cam in this game.
Yeah.
But the belief was that, yeah, Cam can go off against the South Carolinas. He can go off against those teams, but when he start facing the LSUs and the Georgias and the Bamas of the world, all that's going to come to a screeching halt. And it didn't. In fact, he looked even more incredible.
Yeah, he turned up.
Yeah, he just kept delivering moment after moment. And so every year we talk about this, whether, you know, a player has had their Heisman moment. I think everybody knew at this point that he was the front runner for the Heisman. And he never gave that up. There was a little bit of controversy at the Heisman ceremony that he wasn't unanimous because people were hanging on that controversy saying, oh, part of the thing is integrity or whatever. And yeah, sure it is. But I'm happy that they didn't take his Heisman away over something that is fully legal now.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been a travesty. And by the way, give Reggie Bush back his Heisman. Give Reggie back his
suing.
Heisman.
I was say, didn't they already? I forgot whether or not they litigated this already, but he was definitely suing to get his Heisman back post this whole situation.
They
I don't remember whether or not that happened though.
USC got no competitive advantage on the field over him getting whatever money they alleged that he got. He was going to be Reggie Bush no matter what.
Yeah.
Right.
You may be able to argue that he may not have landed at USC, but they took their punishment for that. The school did. Give him back his Heisman. He played. He was
going to be that dude regardless of what team paid him to be there. Like, I'm sorry, bro.
Man. Give him back his Heisman.
I agree.
I don't care. But Cam,
James Barnett says he did get his Heisman
caught up
back.
like Reggie did. I'm glad he didn't get caught up like Reggie did. Let's jump to number 4 on our list of top 10 all time, and that is 4th and 12 versus LSU. That 2004 team is all over this top 10. This would have effectively ended what is largely believed to be the greatest season in Auburn football history, a season that defined college football for a decade.
Yeah, you don't get to what was it? What was it? Number 9 on our list. You don't get to number 9 without this.
Yes, you don't get to number 9 without this. The game could have been effectively over at this point. It would have been over had they not converted. Jason Campbell drops back, rolls to his right, delivers a strike while getting pummeled. He got hit, and Courtney Taylor is right there to do something that I saw these guys do 100 and whatever times in practice that year. Holy crap. Courtney Taylor, one of the better and most underrated wide receivers in Auburn football history, catching a pass from one of the greatest receivers in Auburn football history. 4th and 12 versus LSU. This was a Nick Saban coach team that they had to take down. We're giving them their flowers.
Defending champions, by the way.
That's right. That's right. And that was a split title that year, too. I think LSU took the BCS and USC took the AP crown in 2003.
Yeah.
And that was the last split title that we had. So, yeah, this is a great play. Again, in Jordan-Hare, this is where the Plains gets the reputation as being such a tough place to go play. Also of controversy in that game was the tying extra point was actually missed. And a newly implemented rule that Nick Saban himself advocated for, pure poetry, was the reason Auburn got to re-kick that extra point, and they made it. Right? You cannot. They said you cannot jump over the center's head, and you can't launch. You couldn't launch. Right? They had just put that rule in, and it came back to bite Nick Saban and LSU. He was going crazy, and the rep was like, "Nick, you voted for this, Nick." And he was like, "I don't care. I don't care what idiot I was when I voted for that." 4th and 12 versus LSU. Guys, talk to me, man. 4th and 12. This was so great.
Again, what's crazy about this? This isn't even the game winner, right? Like, this is just you need to have it to just get to a place where you can have a game winner, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we've had Courtney Taylor on the program, and he's talked about this moment and talked about this play. And to your point, when you bring up the best receivers in Auburn history, Courtney Taylor's got to be up there in the conversation, right? For a long time, he was the single season receptions leader for Auburn.
He was so consistent, man.
Yeah, he just went out. Now he's coaching wide receivers, and he's got guys that are going to be highly touted 4- and 5-star receivers all over the country, going on to be NFL guys. But man, that moment for Courtney Taylor, if he never did anything else in his Auburn career, this cemented his legacy at Auburn, just being able to get the separation needed, right? And then just make the darn catch, bro. Like, he was open. He got open, just make the catch. That is definitely an iconic moment and an iconic catch in Auburn history right there.
He was 10. Go ahead, Mike.
No. Go ahead. I had
the final score was what, 10-7, I think?
10-9.
10-9.
Yeah.
Guys, plays were so hard to come by in this game.
Yeah.
This was a defensive struggle. So so to convert a 4th and 12 on an LSU defense like this, and the way that Auburn did it, is what made this spectacular. Because because I think we were like well within the red zone after Auburn converted this play, and Auburn went on to score. And
he caught the touchdown pass.
Yeah. But without this play right here, what it signaled to me is that this team could play a full 60 minutes against anybody. And I think this was the game right here. You can argue this play right here is what really led to what happened in Tennessee when Auburn jumped all over on Tennessee in Neyland Stadium.
Yeah.
Your ability to play 60 minutes with a team that's coming off of a championship season, I think this bolstered Auburn forward. This was a huge play.
Courtney was, he was a classmate of ours, right? But I can tell you this. He held for 12 years? He held the record for career receptions at Auburn. I believe it was 100.
Well, single season. I think it was a single season record. I don't know if it was a career.
No, it was all time. It was all time. He held the record for receptions, 153 career receptions, until it was broken by Ryan Davis.
Ryan Davis, yeah.
And I talked to him. I remember we did an interview with him, and this was off camera. But when I tell you he was so offended at Ryan Davis, this was the competitor in him.
Yeah. Because of the way those catches happened.
Yeah, he was like, look, man, them little dink and dunk passes he was catching were like a real route. I was running running real route.
There were quite a few of them that were that new, speed sweep, and I'm just gonna toss it out in front of you.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah. That
Courtney
wasn't a
was like,
thing
man,
back in his
I
day.
didn't break my record. He was turned up about this. Courtney was funny, but
I'm not even mad at him for that.
I wasn't mad at him either. He was like, these routes these boys are running ain't nothing like we went out and we took pain to catch the football. We took punishment. Ain't taking no punishment out here. Courtney Taylor comes in at number 4. We didn't put Jason Campbell on this graphic, but I can't stress enough the throw that was made to convert this was a great throw. It was a great throw and catch by two guys who clearly had a lot of chemistry with each other. Number 3 on our list of top 10.
Now, people are we talk about debates. The order in which these final 3 will probably be debated. However, I'm fine with this being number 3.
Bam! The prayer Jordan-Hare.
I'm okay with this one.
Nick Marshall to Ricardo Luis. Let me tell you something. I was living in Glendale, Arizona when this catch happened. I thought the magic was over. I thought it was done. I could not.
I mean, he overthrew the pass.
And listen, I wasn't even paying attention to this play. I was so pissed. I was so pissed
that they gave up a huge lead in this game to let Georgia come back.
100%, Mike.
There was a man running underneath, wide open over the middle of the field, and they had time. You didn't need but a field goal. So when he launched this ball in the air, I was losing my mind. I was like, why did they go for all the gusto there? And then,
and like I said, and he well overthrew that. Like he
was it overthrown or underthrown? I think it was
overthrown. It was overthrown because Ricardo was behind.
It was underthrown because they tipped it up and he ran up under it.
Yeah. And so, and I was just like, yo, who is he throwing this to, bro? Like,
the Georgia players were fighting over the ball, and that allowed Ricardo Lewis to get to it. That's what made it.
Trigger Trey.
Yeah, Trey, who did transfer to Auburn after the play. Like, I messed up so bad, I got to go.
Georgia fans
go to
are convinced he's a plant to this day.
This was insane. This was an insane play. Vern and Gary, they're Bammers and Bulldogs through and through. On this call, guys, when he goes, look, Ricardo Luis, oh no. I'm like, why did he say, oh no? He caught it. I don't understand what happened. What kind of call is that? Gary or Vern or whoever? I think it was Vern. God, man, it infuriated me. Ricardo Luis, oh no. Anyway, great play. This play actually won an ESPY or got nominated for an ESPY that year. So many great moments in that 2013 season. Gus Malzahn leaves to go to Arkansas State, famously comes back the next year after Gene Chizik is unceremoniously fired from the job 2 years after winning a national title. And then he takes a lot of the talent that he recruited and goes on an epic run to Pasadena. That championship game doesn't happen without this moment. Final thoughts, guys, on number 3 on our list here of top 10 moments in the last 25 years.
I was so upset that I couldn't even get as excited about this play. Like, I actually tell you what, I actually had to go to a meeting. Tell you exactly what happened. I'm pissed off because I'm checking my phone and I'm seeing Auburn now losing. And I think it was how much time was left after this play? Because Georgia got the ball back.
Oh, yeah, because Georgia
they drove it all the way down there because Aaron Murray almost got him there.
So I checked I'm about to cut my phone off. I'm this upset. And before I do, something said, check your phone. And I saw that Auburn was up, and I'm like, what happened? Like, what just happened? Now I have to go find it. Now I'm looking for a TV now. I get up from this meeting I'm at to go find a TV or somewhere to see what happened. And I see what happened. And I'm like, dude, you couldn't. This defies so much.
This season was right on the edge of what social media is now, in the way that, now the updates of plays are there 2 minutes after they happen on social media, on major networks and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't like that in this way then, right? Like you had to be following somebody who was like posting it from their phone or something at that point. Like it just social media and sports media were not like this instant situation like it is now. And so when you miss plays like this, you had to wait until Sports Center, right, to be able to
watch it. Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
And so now it's a different thing of being able to like not see it live. But like if you weren't watching that live, it almost just like agony trying to feel like what happened? Like
like y'all just changing scores on this just for the fun of it. Like this can't be happening.
So it definitely was a very iconic moment. And again, one of those things where if you did watch it live, you were almost like not able to, you couldn't believe what you just watched because it easily should have been an intercepted pass. Like not even like remotely like this. He threw it straight to two dudes in the other jersey, bro. Like, and they bumped into each other in the air trying to intercept it.
Yeah.
And it fell directly into somebody else's hands. Like it's just one of those like, there's no way that this just happened.
Caesar, there was 25 seconds left on the clock after this play, and Georgia moved the ball all the way down into Auburn territory, like at 20 or something.
Can we talk? Well, we may have to do this on. I don't think it's worthy of doing on YouTube. Because I got this comment here from Lawrence. He was pissed as Ellis Johnson. We need to do a top 5 of some of the worst defensive coordinators at Auburn.
Yeah, I was trying to go. Tim already tried to get me into this mode earlier when he posted top 5 worst losses in Auburn history. Like,
listen,
what are you doing?
The word like Ellis Johnson, that hire, I really and truly, the 2014 Auburn team.
Susan said, "Let's not."
Should have gotten. That's funny. The 2014 team should have gotten back. That offense was different, but it was just as effective.
Yeah, I wish Trey
Auburn
Mason
had to outscore. Auburn had to outscore people. Like you remember the SEC championship game in 2013 against Missouri. Missouri scored like what 40-some points.
Yeah,
that normally should live you. Like that normally should give you a win. Like the fact that we had to outscore people. We never dominated nobody for real. Yeah. We had to outscore them.
Who was Auburn's starting center in 2014? What's the guy? Reese's Mukes? Was it Reese's Mukes?
It might have been. Yeah, I don't know. Don't make me have to remember that off the top of my head. What center was there in 2014?
Yeah, I think it was Reese. And I was convinced.
Right. Ephesians says it was Reese. So
it was Reese. Yeah.
If it's wrong, then blame Ephesians.
I was convinced that he was a Bama plant that season. The things that the bad snaps, I think they had the butt snap against Ole Miss. Some of the games they lost that year, I just did not understand. I know they didn't have Trey Mason, but that team should have been much better than 8-5, I think is where they finished. Absolutely insane. Coming off a national championship run.
Malcolm said the Texas A&M fumble. Was that the game where they fumbled 2 snaps during that game?
Oh man, he had a few games where I was just like, I don't know what's going on with this guy. Like I get it. He got drafted by the Steelers, maybe.
He had a great year the year before that. It was just like I don't know what happened the year after.
There were a lot of stories about him around campus that year that I don't know if that stuff was true or not. Kind of going back to something you said, Ike, about social media not being then what it is now. Yeah. It's crazy to think about. Like you had to be there for these moments, and that's something that when we were at some of these games is something that I appreciate, that we were able to be there for those moments, because you couldn't just relive it 20 seconds later on TikTok.
Yeah.
Right. It made those tickets worth a little bit more, I think, to go to the games and to be there. Every game we went to in 2004. Right. Like, you can watch a lot of those moments now in hindsight, but to be there meant something. And, other sports, you and I have talked about this, have benefited from, the exposure that social media brings.
Right.
But a lot of people outside the SEC don't understand the gravity of what was on the line in this game. right? Like, beating Georgia means so much to, in this area, this little triangle that we got between Tuscaloosa and Auburn and Athens. These teams beating each other just means a lot to do it. And, for this to end the way that it did, Aaron Murray slamming his helmet into the ground.
That was great.
After just so many great shots.
The thing that I remember the absolute most about that shot of Aaron Murray, that I don't know why I hyper focus on it. It's the little red line of where his helmet was. Like every time I hyper focus on the little red mark right there on his forehead from his helmet. Every time I see that, and it's so great.
Right after Vern goes, "Oh no!" They put that shot up. Look, guys, great moment here. Let's get to number 2 on our list of top.
This one's going to be debated as whether the order as well, but number 2 here on
number
the
2.
Okay, let's go.
Wes Byram, the kick that sealed an actual national title for Auburn in the 2010 season. The very unlikely, if you had bet on Auburn this year to win the national title in the preseason, you would have gotten 100-1 odds. 100-1. They went on the most unlikely run in college football history, and Auburn owns like 2 of them within like a 3-year span. Both the 2010 and 2013 teams, those were very unlikely runs to the national title game. It ended with Byram kicking the game winner there in Glendale, Arizona to steal the national title. This was kind of a sloppy game. I don't know what you guys remember about this.
Yeah.
The way that they hyped up the offenses in this game was like it was going to be the shootout of the high scoring, up tempo offenses, and it ended up being like by all accounts, kind of a boring game.
Well, I'll tell you this. This is the downside to playing a championship game a month after you played your last game.
Yeah.
Thank God we're done with that, because I think that both teams looked sloppy and just overall, it was like they had to warm up. The best team won. I thought that Auburn was the better team by a long shot. It was close on paper, but Auburn had the better offensive line. They had the better defensive line. They had the better quarterback, and they had the better. LaMichael James might be one of the most overrated running backs in college football history. Ooh. He made the Heisman ceremony with Cam that year, but those two guys weren't in the same league, man. Come on. Oregon, and I will never give any respect to Oregon as a school, as an institution. I just like them strongly. I dated a girl that year that went to Oregon. We didn't work out. Like, I'm telling you everything about Oregon.
She made Mike sad repeatedly too.
People of Eugene, your university sucks.
Yeah, right. A really funny off story. We were dating in 2013, but when we went to Pasadena, Caesar flew out to Phoenix, and then we drove to Pasadena, so he got to meet her. And then the next year, Oregon made the national title game, I think, against Ohio State. It was the inaugural college football playoff.
Yeah.
And she was like, so you get to spend thousands of dollars to go watch your team, but I can't go. We're not going to go watch mine. And I was like, first of all, let me educate you on something here, honey. We had connections on tickets for that game because the average ticket price for that game aftermarket was $2,600. It was insane. We paid $385 for our ticket. So first of all, I'm paying $3,000 a ticket,
and we still pay too much.
Yeah, right. To watch them lose, right? And then I said, "This is like a $10,000 vacation you want to go on." So that shut that down, and then
you don't have a prayer winning the game, so stop.
Right? They got run off the field. What was the running back's name that they had that year? Ezekiel Elliott. Oh my God,
Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah.
They
went. He went crazy.
When we were watching, I was like, man, this is too bad. I looked over at her and she was sleeping. I was like, this is why I didn't pay $10,000 to take you down here. The team playing for a national title and you sleeping. But
They beat him to sleep.
a lot of folks slept on Auburn in 2010. Those folks were wrong. Again, there were moments that we could have picked from this game. There was a moment in this game where Nick Fairley sacked. What was the guy's name? Darren somebody. Who was the quarterback for Oregon?
Thomas.
Darren Thomas.
No,
I think
that's not was that the quarterback's name? I don't know. I'm about to look it up.
No, the chat will always help. The chat is undefeated when it comes to this. I always forget the last names of the guys.
It was Darren Thomas, yeah.
Darren Thomas, yeah. Right. And it was like a zone read type of play. And they were saying if he had given it to LaMichael James, it probably would have been a touchdown, but he kept it. Nick Fairley read it perfectly.
Oh, yeah, I remember that play.
I remember that play. Him. Yeah, I do. I mean, so many. Auburn just had the two best players in that game. The two best players in that game were Cam Newton and Nick Fairley. Emory Blake was such an underrated weapon for Auburn as well.
For sure.
He, caught a touchdown pass from Cam. Oregon was just all gimmicks, man. They caught Auburn on kind of like an off day for the offense. The defense was underrated. They gave up a lot of points, but those were to some really good teams that they gave them up. And Oregon, I'm sorry, just wasn't that good. I thought they were an overrated pack whatever team.
Pack whatever, that's fun.
Shout
out to Cody Burns, man, for his catch and run for a touchdown.
Converted quarterback to wide receiver, ultimate team guy there. And then there was the Michael Dyer. Was he down? Was he not down?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The Oregon fans to this day.
A couple of people have argued that should have been the moment that we picked for that game. Forever Bankroll says, I think Michael Dyer's run was better. Ephesians says the Dyer run should always be ranked over this. The kick was 19 yards. It's not necessarily how difficult the kick was or how complex the play was. It's the play that won the game. Right, like I get the Dyer touchdown was the setup, but it was that's what won the game, and that's why it's up there.
And Auburn was losing at that time. Was it the game tied or was Auburn losing?
It was tied 19-19.
It was tied. Okay.
Like, let me take you back though to 2004 again. We just talked about this. It was a chip shot, extra point, and he missed it and got another shot because the pressure of that moment is so great. So I want to make sure Byram gets his due for just stepping up and knocking that one through and making it a non-thing, because, when you get the yips there in the moment, you could pull that one, you can push it. All kind of crazy things happen under pressure, and he was such a great kicker. Auburn has had so many.
Am I making this up, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but like Cam was supposed to kneel the ball down on the play.
Yes. I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
And he was like, nah, F it. We trying to score. He was like, no.
He got questioned about this during the draft process. They said, hey, like, what happened? Your coach sent you out there to kneel and you did something different. It wasn't enough to stop him from being taken number 1 overall, but certainly there were questions about that play. Again, I mentioned the Nick Fairley sack, the Emory Blake touchdown, the Cody Burns touchdown that you guys talked about. There was the kick. There was the Michael Dyer play. This game was short on offense, but it wasn't the best championship game we ever watched.
Yeah.
Right.
However, Auburn won it, so that makes it come in at number 2 here on our list. A championship in our lifetime, something that a lot of people may never get to say that they saw from their college. The championship. We've gotten 2 undefeated seasons and 2 title bursts in our lifetime. So Auburn football delivering the moments. Number 1 on our list, probably not a shock to anybody.
Once you've seen the other 9, this one is given that it's going to be number 1.
Yeah, Chris Davis takes missed field goal, one of the most unlikely ends to a game. Nick Saban was quoted after the game saying, "I've never seen a game end like that. It wasn't a thought in his head that this would be returned." But credit, as I understand it, Trooper Taylor and I forgot the other coach essentially said, "Look, guys." Was it Trooper? It might not have been.
No, it wasn't. Trooper was not coaching at this point.
No, it wasn't Trooper. I forgot which coach it was. Stopped and said, "Let's put a guy back there." Because they were getting. He wasn't back there at first.
He wasn't.
They called the timeout. They corrected the length of the field goal, and they put Chris Davis back there. And during the review of the play after, I think it was Vern or Gary, whichever one said, they had all fat guys on the field. They had nobody that could run down Chris Davis. Bama fans legit started a petition to overturn the results of the game because Chris Davis, they alleged, stepped out. His heel never touched. It was close. His heel never touched. There was plenty of green on replay, but he returns the kick 109 yards for a touchdown. This one actually did win the SB for best play in of the year. And if you look at any list of the best plays in college football history, this is going to be in the top 3. It's everybody's number 1 for a really, really, really long time. Lives in infamy, guys. I don't know if there's anything that can be said that hasn't been said about this play a million times already, but in a season that failed to deliver a national title, this was kind of the precipice of that season. You beat Bama at home, and this was the last year of the BCS system. So making a title game meant a lot more because if you lose 2, you're out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think this was number 1 Bama versus number 4 Auburn. What were these teams ranked? There was so much. There was an SEC title on the line.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, there was so much on the line in this game that this is what makes the Iron Bowl the Iron Bowl. And after we move on from this conversation, I want to end the show talking a little bit about what the next moment will be that Hugh Freeze will have a chance to deliver. But this game defined what the Iron Bowl should be every single year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Iron Bowl has delivered iconic moment after iconic moment and cemented moments for players for decades because of, and we had this conversation about whether or not the Iron Bowl rivalry is losing some of its luster. And I think maybe it feels like that as far as like the national landscape is concerned, but just the nature of how those moments create memories for people, I don't think it'll ever go away just because this rivalry is so contentious, and that's putting it lightly. Yeah. You're just gonna always have the moments in those games that will, like, what's my guy's name? A couple of years ago, the running back ran over the dude, helmet popped off.
Yes.
VA is what they call him.
I always forget his name. He transferred to Indiana.
Yes, I have brain farts on names all the time. But like you're gonna have those moments. Sean Shivers, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Sean Shivers running through my boy's chest for that. Like, again, like that's not like a game-winning play.
That
but
picture
like
is so amazing.
That moment sticks in your brain so much.
It does.
Sean Shivers could have done that in any other game, and it would have been amazing. But he does it in the Iron Bowl, and it becomes iconic.
Yeah.
Like, and you can't, like, what I'm saying? Daniel Denny just mentioned, the ricochet pick six for 100, yard. Like, you just can't, when those happen in the Iron Bowl, it's different, bro. Like, it's just a different thing because of how crazy those moments tend to be. And they're always elevated because of the nature of the rivalry. And this happening in this game, a kick six happening in any game for the win is crazy. It happening in the Iron Bowl for a chance to go to the SEC championship is improbable, and it's so iconic. It becomes this iconic moment.
Yeah, I agree. Look, he mentioned the ricochet in the Iron Bowl in 2019. It was Jacoby McClain that returned to that one for a touchdown. Look, this rivalry. This is why we call it the best in college football. Mm-hmm. And there's questions because it's been so one-sided. That's where it kind of leads us to the end of the show here before we get to our comments.
Real quick, Mike, before you talk about that, I do want to say something about that game too. One of the most amazing plays to me was the pass from Nick Marshall, where he pulls it and looks like he's about to run. Yeah, that was an amazing play.
Yeah, that's right.
That was an amazing
on
play.
replay. Did he cross the line?
And that was another thing they contested.
Yeah.
They contested whether or not he crossed the line of
Crossed the
scrimmage
line
when
of
he threw that
scrimmage,
ball.
Well, actually, the thing that they contest most is that there were receivers blocked. I mean, there were linemen downfield on that play.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just insane.
Amazing play.
Guys, I want to talk about these first 2 years here, kind of tying this all now to the present. Great moments over the last 25 years. But, has Hugh Freeze delivered his signature Auburn moment? I would argue that even Brian Harsin had one with Bo Nix at LSU breaking the streak, him running around and finding, what was the tight end's name in the end zone on the cross?
Frazier?
Wasn't that Frazier?
Was it Frazier? Or was it
Frazier?
Okay, yeah. Like, is there a moment that Hugh Freeze has delivered in these first 2 years on the Plains that we could say one day we're going to be sitting here talking about? Do you guys remember when Auburn beat Texas A&M? I think maybe was it Keandre Lambert-Smith that caught the final pass in overtime?
Yeah.
Is there a moment?
It was Fromm. It was Fromm. That's what I was
It was Fromm. Yeah. So, is there a moment that's happened here in 2 years that you can look back on and say, man, that was, remember that game?
Right now, it's got to be that Texas A&M game, I would say, but that's kind of sad. But yes,
Yeah.
For the 5th win of the season.
Yeah.
Remember that. Yeah, when Auburn won that LSU game, I mean, they were going in to November that season 6-2.
Right.
And people were talking about Brian Harsin potentially as the SEC Coach of the Year. This is the year, I think, where we need it all comes together for Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, he's got to deliver some moments this year for sure.
Yeah. It's you notice so many of these moments that we're talking about involve quarterbacks. A lot of them involve quarterbacks. 4th and 12. Again, we put Courtney Taylor on the graphic, but the guy throwing the ball was probably the most important part of that play.
Yeah.
So if Jackson Arnold becomes Hugh Freeze's golden goose here in year 3, we should get some iconic moments that we will look back on 10 years from now and say, oh my goodness, I remember where I was at when Hugh Freeze made the call to win the game and Jackson Arnold delivered the pass to Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman caught it with his fingertips like Odell Beckham and stiff-armed a guy like Sammy Coates did in 2013 and then ran 85 yards for the touchdown. All those things are happening on the same play, just in case you were wondering. Best play Auburn history right there. I just called it out.
Stay on his feet, stiff arms a guy, and runs 85. Got it.
Yeah, right. Nobody in the frame. He outruns everybody. It scores 2 touchdowns. So scores 12 points on one play. It's got to happen this year. I mean, it's got to happen this year. They didn't have their quarterback the first 2 years. You had the guy that was available, but they never got those moments out of Peyton Thorne, really. I mean, you can argue the end of the Texas A&M game, but there was nothing on the line.
And maybe that the game where they go to Cal, the Fairweather, touchdown is probably Peyton Thorne's biggest moment. But yeah, again, they all feel like they fall flat because of the end result of the season. Like it just doesn't. It doesn't get your juices going because it's like, all right, well, those games didn't mean anything ultimately.
Right.
Like how much the games meant, I think were and like, so there were some that were, they weren't like iconic Auburn teams, but they were like heavy underdogs and you come up with the win. Auburn just doesn't have that in these first 2 Hugh Freeze seasons.
Yeah. I think we get them in year 3 though. Year 3, if Jackson Arnold is to be a guy that even if he's not, then Deuce Knight gives us those moments. I think we get it in year 3, no matter what. Something iconic is got to happen this season. Whether it's blowout, those again. I mentioned Sammy Coates one-handed taking a Texas A&M and receiver. When your team is clicking on all cylinders, those plays just kind of happen in abundance. We look back on that Sammy Coates throwdown and we think, good God, that team just looked dominant at times. And nobody thought they were going to be that going into the season.
Right.
Now, there are some folks who are high on Auburn football headed into this season. But overall, nobody's picking Auburn to win the SEC.
No.
Nobody's picking them to win the playoffs. It seems like this is the stage that's prime and set for Hugh Freeze to have one of those out of left field Auburn runs that we have become so used to. Nobody thought the 2014 would do what they did, but they did it. Nobody thought 2010 would be what they were, but they were. No one saw 2013 coming off the worst season in 50 years at Auburn. But they delivered a championship run. Could 2025 be the year that Hugh Freeze delivers another one of those kinds of years? I don't know that they have to go on a 2013 type run, but man, it feels like this is kind of primed for it. And they're doing it with a talent base that is better, I think, than any of those other teams had, particularly at wide receiver. If you've got your quarterback, this team has a chance to be really, really special. So, guys, great show. Let's go on and get out of here. We'll get a few comments before we get out of here. The Up Tempo podcast. Appreciate our guy Dustin says so many great calls on the mic from RB in these moments. That's Rod Ramblett.
Yep.
Yes. Lawrence Robinson says, I felt like it was karma that we got that play because Aaron didn't score. Speaking of the prayer and Jordan-Hare, I believe.
Yes.
Aaron Murray. She's talking about. Madison AU Chief says, went from breaking remotes to ecstatic applause. You could be talking about any moment here because I have broken so many remotes in the name of college Auburn football. It's ridiculous. Certainly. I want to thank everybody for joining the show here. Guys, before we get out of here, I want to give you guys the floor. Closing comments on the state of Auburn football here. Auburn is a place where great things can happen. Is that going to be true for 2025?
Man, it needs to be, right? Because I think you're in a very crucial pivot point, and we've talked about this a few times. And looking at, just going back a couple of weeks and talking about the momentum that Auburn has built with the talent floor and the direction that Auburn recruiting has taken. And just a couple of weeks later, you had to do a show on what happened to the momentum in recruiting, and it's died.
Yeah.
And decommitments happening from the class and all that sort of thing. So much hinges on the performance on the field this year more than it has in either of the previous two seasons under Coach Hugh Freeze. You got to make something happen this year. And you need to be able to deliver something that not only fans can re-engage with their vigor for Auburn football like they are for Auburn basketball, like they have been for Auburn baseball, like you've seen with so many of the other spring sports with Auburn, getting back locked in with Auburn football in that level of excitement, number one. And then number two, having that level of excitement filter over into what you have for recruiting and guys feeling like, not only is this a place where I can come play immediately, right, and be a freshman guy that's going to make an impact, but I can come and win titles here. Like, we've got a legit shot, not just to have a bunch of talented guys here, but this coaching staff knows how to put me in position to go be a winner. And this season needs to be the place in which you prove that, because you got all the tools, you got all the fancy, star player, all that's there. It's time to deliver it on the field.
I think this is the year, Mike, because again, I'm not asking for another prayer in Jordan-Hare. I'm not asking for a kick six, but I am asking for a Courtney Taylor moment. I am asking for a big play in which it appears as though Auburn is turning the corner. It appears as though a light has come on with this team. It appears as though they figured some things out. Those were the plays that, as time has gone on, when we look back at it, we say, that play actually was the beginning of something special. Right. And I think those are plays that can happen early and often in this season. Hugh Freeze has updated the talent. He feels good about this team. He feels confident in this team. He's got some really talented players that I think can actually begin to provide some of those moments of the Hugh Freeze tenure to really get things jump started at Auburn again, finally.
Yeah, look, it's time. It's beyond time for it to happen. The resources have been dedicated. I think that it happens for him. Hopefully it happens August 29th when Auburn kicks off the season in Waco against the Baylor Bears. Guys, that's it for another great weekend tailgate. We're going to get out of here. But before we do, you guys know the deal. We want to thank our sponsors, Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use the codes on the screen to get your discount on your Golden's Cast Iron products. Work out, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. Also want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit therogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get your 15% off. And our friends at the Vibe Vault, you can find them at the address you see there for your cut for the weekend. Go get fresh with our friends at the Vibe Vault. Subscribe on podcast, Auburn Express, Uptempo, College Loop, Just a Sec, and the War Rapport Gaming channel, bringing you guys lots of great audio-only content. I said this already. I'm going to say it again. We have some audio-exclusive Auburn basketball interviews with Stephen Pearl and assistant Ira Bowman. I talked to those guys. If you want a little bit of a basketball fix in June, we're delivering it. So please go listen to that on whatever podcast platform you listen to. This will be 2 out of the last 3 pods that we posted. So they should be pretty easy to find there. But Ike had to sit down with those guys. We appreciate Auburn basketball for giving us a little time every offseason to update us on what's going on. Again, you can find that on podcast only. Let's go on and get out of here. Guys, you guys know the deal. Share this video on social media at the War Rapport using hashtag Get Your Weight Up. Like and subscribe on the YouTube channel and on the video. Leave us a comment after the video. If you agree with our top 10, if you don't, we are taking all comments here to go back and forth there. I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of argument about that top 5. Not 1, but 2 through 5, certainly. We appreciate that conversation. Follow us on social media at the War Rapport on X and Instagram, TW Rapport on TikTok. Guys, let's go on and get out of here. That's it for another great edition. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow on the Auburn Express. But until then, War Eagle.